Time for another installment of the Pokemon Card Ranking Review Series. This segment will include nothing but quality cards as well as a legendary bird and evolution and starter Pokemon. Let's get started with one of the coolest Pokemon ever. Literally.
21. Articuno. Articuno is the last legendary bird on this list, and it's a great card, but its biggest flaw is its attacks require a lot of energies to use. You need 3 water energies for Freeze Dry, which is a proficient move with a solid effect. Blizzard is another option to consider, but it's even more expensive and reckless depending on how your bench looks and whether or not you want to risk that damage. But the payoff in hurting your opponent's bench can easily make the attack worth it. Articuno has a decent HP pool, resistance, and no weakness, which are all beneficial, but it's too slow to power up, and the high energy costs aren't always worth the output they can deliver. Although with the right partner and high supply of water energy, Articuno can be a legendary force by easily eliminating the weak Pokemon while taking sizable debts out of the stronger ones. 20. Jolteon. Jolteon is without a doubt the best of the evolutions. Has the same HP and quick attack as Flareon, but its second attack Pin Missile is deadly. I've described the pros and cons of quick attack in the other 2 evolutions. It's okay, but you'll want to power up its other attack. Pin Missile is shockingly amazing. For 3 energies you get to flip 4 coins. It does 20 damage for each successful one. Coin tosses are generally not a good route due to unreliability, but when you're flipping 4, chances are you're going to end up doing some damage, and the possibility of doing 80 is worth the risk. Unlike other electric attacks where you end up hurting or exploding yourself in the process, there are no drawbacks beyond having bad luck. It's especially effective if you find yourself desperate to do damage and you're facing a ground type that can possibly dent their electric resistance. If you're not up for that, then luckily Jolteon is cheap to retreat, meaning you can easily take yourself out of those situations. While it has virtually identical features to its other 2 counterparts, it also has the most versatile second attack with the highest damage potential, which makes Jolteon the best of this trio. 19. Machamp. Machamp is a card that is pure power. For 4 energies, you do 60 damage without any repercussions, which is a huge improvement to Machoke's submission attack. It's definitely one of the best cards for beginners. You can just imagine Machamp throttling an endless supply of cards like Arbok, Seals, and Growlithe, but against anyone its own size, it's less of a threat. Its Pokemon power may not seem like much, but if that 10 damage from Strikes Back knocks out your opponent on their turn, it's a huge advantage. With a high HP, Machamp can last a while, but can't do much besides deal both direct and indirect damage. However, Machamp contains a plethora of raw power. It's more enough to wreak plenty of havoc. 18. Venusaur. Venusaur's prowess definitely makes up for its prior stage's ineffective characteristics. It's got a huge HP, a powerful attack, a decent Pokemon power, and also surprisingly low retreat cost for a behemoth plant monster. Usually any Pokemon power involving energy is invaluable, but Venusaur's is just alright. It certainly helps make energy uses more efficient, but moving energy around isn't nearly as beneficial as putting it on or keeping it there. Its offensive move Solar Beam costs 4 energies of the same type, and it's generally good at taking out most things in one hit. Venusaur is one of the more durable and dominant cards around, but its niches and abilities are still somewhat limited and situational. Still, on its own, but especially with the right support cards and combinations, Venusaur can become quite the worthwhile addition to your deck. 17. Poliwrath. If it wasn't for Whirlpool, Poliwrath would just be a poor imitation of Blastoise, but because of it, it stands as a titan in its own right. Poliwrath's water gun is similar to all the other cards that have it, so while it's an alright attack, you really just want to stick with Whirlpool, which is expensive but beyond devastating. After doing 40 damage, you get to discard 1 energy card in defending Pokemon. It might not seem like much, but removing energy is one of the most destructive things you can do to your opponent. If you unleash this fighting tadpole, the opposition is in for some serious trouble. Even if they manage to survive the 40 damage Whirlpool, they're down in energy, and sometimes that's all it takes to ensure a victory, especially if it's double colorless energy you removed and your opponent wasn't fully powered up to begin with. Poliwrath has an excellent HP and great attacks, but its high energy costs and similarities towards the superior Blastoise hold it back. Overall, it's still a spectacular card and should be heavily considered in a water-themed deck. 16. Dragonair. Dragonair is definitely one of the most capable second stages out there, especially one that has an evolution in reserve. Its normal typing and no weaknesses make it a great consideration and a perfect neutral addition to any deck. It has 2 attacks, one that can cause serious pain to your opponent and the other that involves strategic disruption. The downside is both are pretty costly, but being all colorless makes it manageable. Slam can be very scary going up against. The possibility of losing a strong 60 HP Pokemon to one hit is a good fear to place in your enemy, although when you realize you're probably going to do 30 damage or worse 0, it makes the attack a little less intimidating, but still good. Higher Beam's energy discard effect can ruin cards that need a lot of energy to function. The 20 damage is just an added bonus. Having your opponent continually restock its active Pokemon's energy while neglecting their bench energy needs is invaluable. Dragonair has double the HP of its first stage, resistance and a fair retreat cost made a threatening Pokemon to use even before Dragonite was released. 15. Dragonite. Dragonite would have to improve on a lot in order to make you want to give up using your Dragonair, and it does just enough to qualify. It has 20 more HP, which is always useful, but unfortunately loses Dragonair's incredibly disruptive Hyper Beam. Slam is still there, though slightly more expensive and stronger with a possibility to deal 80 damage now, but still just as likely to do 0. Its Pokemon power is one of the more lackluster ones in the original set. If your active Pokemon has status effect or you just feel that Dragonite would be more valuable to have in play, you can retreat your active Pokemon for free and bring in Dragonite to possibly do some serious destruction depending on how your coin tosses turn out. Dragonite is certainly a great card, but there is already little left to be improved upon from Dragonair that if it makes you question whether or not you should even evolve it, then there's something lacking. However, Dragonite is definitely more powerful and durable than Dragonair and keeps no weakness, changes the resistance, and lowers the retreat cost. Even though Dragonite might be a bit of a disappointment, its quality attributes can offer a lot of power and protection in your deck. 14. Ninetales. Ninetales is a more cost-effective and tactical version of Charizard. Even though it doesn't have Pokemon power to effectively manage its energy, at least it doesn't burn through it, pun intended, like Charizard does. Fire Blast is one of the highest damaging attacks around, which also means there are certainly times when the AD damage may be overkill, but since it's only one energy to discard, it's not really worth complaining about when you think of the benefits. Fortunately, as Firefox is a great support move to help you while you wait to power up its high energy demands. Lure does no damage, but is incredibly useful because you can choose your opponent's bench Pokemon you want to bring out. This attack can be used brilliantly in relation with Fire Blast, not just to buy time before you're ready to power it up, but also if you want to eliminate an adversary's card before it becomes a threat. Ninetales does require a lot of energy to maintain itself, but its HP is high, its retreat cost is low, and its attack combination can achieve fantastic results. With all these factors considered, Ninetales is undeniably one of the most formidable and ruthless fire Pokemon to choose from. 13. Gengar. It's debatable whether you even want to evolve your fossil Haunter, considering it was quite a struggle to defeat. However, I believe that Gengar is situationally far more flexible and deadly. Its attacks and skills actually work with the monster's devious nature. Dark Mine has a good attack on its own, can even hit bench Pokemon for 10 damage. Gets even better once you start adding up damage and combine the move with Gengar's Pokemon power Curse, which can move those damage counters one at a time on any of your opponent's cards. Now you have a monstrous card that can easily KO defenseless bench Pokemon. Although its Curse and Dark Mine combination can take a few turns to see any impact, in the end it can be unbelievably effective, sometimes even taking out multiple Pokemon in a single turn. Fortunately, Gengar is a fairly high HP, resistance, and no weakness, which makes it a sturdy force, especially against those psychic and fighting types. But regardless, Gengar can still manipulate with its Pokemon power, even if it's not the active Pokemon. So while Fossil Haunter's strategy was incredible, it's sometimes too slow to see results and based on luck. Its final stage plays a completely different role and should absolutely consider Gengar if you prefer a more offensive and destructive approach this ghost is more incapable of delivering. 12. Clefable. Clefable does what Clefairy did, only better and cheaper. With 70 HP, Clefable now has a much better possibility of surviving more than one turn. Metronome has been reduced to an unbelievable 1 energy cost, making an extremely efficient attack matter of the opponent, but still does best against the cards that can deal the most damage, especially high-level fire moves with those energy discard drawbacks. While Metronome is immune to repercussions from attacks that require things like energy discards in order to use that move, it is still affected by negative conditions such as damage to self. The perfect example would be if it was facing Arcanine. For both attacks, it will do the number of direct damage to the opponent. However, if it used Flamethrower, it would not need to discard the energy, but if it used Takedown, it would still do the 30 damage to itself. Since Clefable's strength is contingent on what you're facing, it can be difficult to plan ahead for, and unfortunately it's unable to copy enemy Pokemon powers as well. It can also sometimes have trouble surpassing cards that only have low energy costing attacks. Still, Clefable is a card that can take its opponent's greatest strengths and fire it back at them, all while often avoiding their weaknesses. Its cardless type makes an easy fit in any deck, and Metronome can supply some severe devastation. Its other move, Minimize, is nowhere near as helpful. While it can protect you from a little bit of damage, it's not exactly a worthwhile stall move, and also requires more energy than Metronome. But aside from that, Clefable is definitely a card that can be surprisingly lethal and talented despite its cheerful and friendly appearance.
I wonder if the theory is true that Gengar is actually Fable's evil shadow doppelganger. Anyway, there's only 11 more cards to go. Tune in next time to get even closer to revealing what the best Pokemon card was from the original set. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you then.